Hi, I'm Jack Ferguson, and I'm talking about the movie Joint Security Area. This movie was released on January 1st, 2000, and was directed by Park Chan-wook. Park Chan-wook was born in 1963 in Seoul. Park has made many successful movies, including the Sympathy Trilogy, Old Boy, and The Handmaiden. He has made Korean cinema much more popular throughout the world with these movies. But his success as a director started with JSA, which was at one point the most watched film in South Korea. JSA takes place at the North and South Korean border in the Korean Demilitarized Zone, or also called the DMZ. The DMZ was established as a buffer zone between the two countries in 1953 after the Korean War. Today it is the site for many peace talks between North and South Korea and the allies of either country. The movie starts with Major Sophie Jean, a member of the Swiss Army sent to mediate and investigate the murder of two North Korean soldiers. She first hears the testimony of what happened from North Korean Sergeant O. Sergeant O's account of the incident claims that the South Korean Sergeant Lee crossed the border and attacked the three North Korean soldiers, killing two of them. Following Sergeant O's testimony, Major Jean hears a conflicting story from Sergeant Lee, who says he was kidnapped by the three North Korean soldiers, but he managed to escape and ended up killing two of the North Korean soldiers during his escape. After hearing each of their testimonies, Major Jean can tell there are lies in each of their stories, because she finds an extra bullet in Sergeant Lee's gun. That means that there were more bullets fired than just from Sergeant Lee. In addition, Nam, who is another South Korean border patrol, had his gun investigated, and the blood of the North Korean commanding officer was found inside the barrel of the gun. Nam was threatened with a lie detector test by Major Jean, and he ended up jumping out the window to kill himself. After Nam kills himself, a flashback shows the true story behind the incident. Sergeant Lee accidentally crossed the border and tripped a mine, but before the mine was able to be exploded, he was saved by Sergeant Oh and Jung, two North Korean soldiers. Lee returns to South Korea and throws a note across the border thanking the soldiers who saved him. Soon after, Jung sent a note back telling Lee to come visit them in North Korea. To Jung's surprise, Lee actually visited them, and they slowly became friends. A couple of months later, Lee also brought along Nam with him to meet the North Koreans. The four of them grew very close together and visited each other consistently. Tensions began to rise between North and South Korea, so they decided to visit one more time to say goodbye. Unfortunately, a North Korean commanding officer came to check on the soldiers. This led to a standoff between all of the soldiers. After a tense few minutes, O gets them to drop their weapons, but the commanding officer reaches for his radio, and Nam panicked and shot him. Immediately after, he shot Jong repeatedly. Sergeant O then took the gun from Nam and killed the commanding officer and convinced Lee and Nam to escape, then say Lee was kidnapped by the North Koreans. When we return to the present day, we can tell that Sergeant Lee is weighed down by the guilt for the death of his two friends. As he is being escorted after being questioned by Major Jean, he steals the gun of a soldier and kills himself. The cast of this movie includes Song Kang-ho as Sergeant O, Lee Byung-hun as Sergeant Lee, Shin Ha-kyun as Jung, Kim Tae-woo as Nam, and Lee Young-ae as Major Jean. This movie was a great way to send a message that North and South Koreans can still get along and still come from the same history. This story would not have happened if the North Korean soldiers didn't help Sergeant Lee escape from the mine. At that moment, it seemed as if they saw Sergeant Lee as a fellow Korean rather than an enemy. Sergeant Lee later reciprocated that sentiment as he sent a thank you note across the border to them. At one point in the movie, Nam also mentions that he won't have friends once Sergeant Lee leaves the military. Lee trusts Nam to visit friends in the north, and they become closer friends than with anyone from their own country. JSA also shows how guilt can affect somebody, as we saw Lee break down crying in front of many officials and eventually kill himself because he felt responsible for the death of his two friends. JSA really stands out to me because it doesn't portray North Korea as being evil like in other movies, but it rather shows them as brothers of South Korea. Thank you for watching.